Benzagurubama Sada Shatsamburgus Ahum Jirame Sadahum Ahum Dangurubama Sadahum Benzagurubama Sadahum Di parla, dombando gola, dombando aiuta, lo si.
Page 9. Page 9. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge unto enlightenment reach. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge unto enlightenment reach. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sanje Jidan Zojen Jona La Sanjo Barad Dane Jazem Je Dage Jin Zoje Bezonam Je Drola Bezer Zanje Drobar. Go to page 21. Page 21. Please turn the way of the Dharma of the two workers and their combination according to the disposition and likewise intercapacity of sentient beings. Sem je nam je zambada lo ye ze da je da war che jong de mo te ba ye che jeng go lo go de zo
Hong Jin Ye No Shang Zan Ba Ma Ge Zhe Dong Bo La Yang Zhen Zhe Guan Wu Zhe Ni Ba Ma Zhong Ni Ji Se Gu Dong Guan Zhu Mang Bu Gu Ji 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 Se Dao Zhu Ji Xin Ji Lao Jie Xiao Se Song Ge Re Ba Ma Se De Hong Hong Jin Ye No Shang Zan Ba Ma Ge Zhe Dong Bo La Yang Zhen Zhe Guan Wu Zhe Ni Ba Ma Zhong Ni Ji Se Kordam Gandro Mambu Gorji Ji Se Dao Zhu Ji Xin Ji Lao Jie Xiao Se Song Ge Re Ba Ma Se De Hong Jin Ye No Shang Zan Ba Ma Ge Zhe Dong Bo La Yang Zhen Zhe Guan Wu Zhe Ni Ba Ma Zhong Ni Ji Se Dong Kordam Gandro Mambu Gorji Ji Se Dao Zhu Xin Ji Lao Jie Xiao Se Song Ge Re Ba Ma Se De Hong Ma Hong Ba Zhen Ge Re Ba Ma Se De Hong Ma Hong Ba Zhen Ge Re Ba Ma Se De Hong Om Badrangara Bama Sadom, 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 Jela Dajan Sora, the Pindi, the Soganda, Nebe Sabjos. Nadan one bond up to Java, Chudan, Rajim, Biran, the Sur, Jumdan, Gombo, Javara, Lajan, Zalo, Kanga, Lodro, Dumni, Jumjan, the Namdar of Servi, Chimye, Dongan, Jivjans, Chiraniki, the Grala, Kanda, Jabe, Zoran, Marumanto, Dumra, Jezervi, and Rozo, and Lava, Chetaji, Allah, Jujan, the Zom, Dutriche, Donia, Monia, Loliki, Chazodum, Zajan, Marumazar, Dumram, Yaka, Janya, Jumzara, Jano, Duni, Dajan, Sabjim, Dazoyan, and the Zodiati, the Oka. Chuchajadan, Jenny, Jantim, Dalu, Mazer, Jahoro, Yolanda, Omara Bazanarda, Omara Bazanarda, Omara Bazanarda. Umara Bazanardo, 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 Children Jijin Jero, was a Dalo, the Mambara Sunday, Katal Dam Jojon, Tobai, Lodro will be no Jeta Jimbo, Jordan, Nimejan, Zone, Molum, Jimbo, Nabiata, Pakratang, Santu, Shamur, Tumba, DJ, Jala, Shantarlo. Atani, Namba, Tamchela, Shito, de la Kansam Jin.
So, good morning, or not good morning, good afternoon to everyone.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah.
So we are going to continue now with our teaching.
Tani tanang da nga so tani chu jin de je go re de song ni ta ti jimsen ti don da da mambo zi tanang nga so xia song gong da.
So this morning, the first of the four Dharmas, turning from improper action to the true Dharma. We spoke a lot about this first Dharma.
Tani chu jin de xie go re samba tini jimsen ra bu da nga so sang ma se na ha go re.
So the reason for why we need to practice the correct Dharma, everyone knows.
Yena da jimsen de ha go na ya de nga so chu jin de tani de yang bo zi de ni xie tab ko ma re kap se.
Even though we understand the reason why we do need to practice the true Dharma, from time to time we find ourselves being unable to do so in practice. So if we find ourselves unable to do so, then we need a method to help us. Does such a method exist? Yes, there is a method or a way that exists. It entails us training our minds. If we were able to actually engage in this training, then actually it's possible to train our minds to an extremely high level or vast scope. For example, athletes who take part in extremely high-level competitions. We've all seen competitions like this.
But
an ordinary person, if they were to take part in such a competition, they wouldn't be able to perform at this level in any way.
chikpare.
The reason that athletes are able to perform at this level is precisely because of their training. Aside from this training, there's no other reason. Everyone possesses a physical body.
Teni tetang drapo ngaso lipo simla yang teni jongder tetang drapo teni sheji yore.
And it's exactly the same in terms of our minds. Our minds we need to train as well.
Teni nyamlin teni pe yakpo teni shenkanga teni ta lama yin na dra teni chupate so teni koso teni yakpo shi thap shamdang nyang ji ta so yakpo yo. Teni ngaso teni jongder yakpo shi matam kan so la maybe gimsan kang rezina. Teni jongder shi thap matam re mato tele jambi gimsan chi yung mare ngaso sama simde chikpare sama janjare.
The reason in terms of training our mind through practice, good practitioners, lamas, for example, the reason that they are able to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and other qualities is precisely to such a high level is precisely because of their training. That's the only difference between them and other people. In terms of our minds are exactly the same. The difference lies in the extent to which we train them.
Teni chujinda teni ta shepala jongder karishi gorizena teni so teni Lodro namba je teni te gumgo ndo sone teni ndi Gampopa teni ranga teni te song nala teni song laure.
So to turn our selves or our minds to the true Dharma, what we really need to train in is the 4 thoughts that turn the mind from samsara, and this is something that Gampopa emphasized himself in his own commentary.
Teni Lodro namba jindi nangla teni ta legimde or legimde ta te mahto pa jamba cho nga cho mtsi nang teni the dugbo cha or teni dumur cha the so yar zandum shini teni song yores.
So within the 4 thoughts that turn the mind from samsara, aside from the karmic cause and effect, the other 3 thoughts all revolve around negative aspects of human life or suffering.
Teni tanju nika mahtopa jamba teniga teni dumur te so shayore dumur ke chate so shayores.
Or rather, with the exception of the contemplations of karmic cause and effect, in addition to the preciousness of a human rebirth, the other content of the 4 thoughts revolves around negative aspects of human life and suffering.
And
this content, which entails negative aspects and suffering, is firstly the thought of death and impermanence. And in respect of death and impermanence, it is explained very clearly how these lives of ours are extremely unreliable, unstable. They might pass from us at any moment. Because this is in reality how things are, this is how they are explained to be. So there's nothing that is said or claimed in the 4 thoughts that is not in accordance with reality. Everything is put forth as it really does exist in reality. But even though this is how things are in reality, a lot of the time in our everyday lives we don't give it any thought at all. in our everyday lives, what we tend to think about, in fact, is the opposite of this.
답변나 되니 나랑 영랑보라 시기 말에 나랑 영랑보라 대그래 되니 뒤쳇 뒤돈도 되니 다 나랑 레간들레 공도 들레 공도 삼네 되니 차르지만 보자네 되니 셰크요레스.
We tend to think that we will live for a long time, that we won't die for a long time. And on this basis, we think about all the things that we want to do, and we generally make a lot of plans.
되니 차르지들이 뭐보자가 요레다 있나 되니 다 동부토라 되니 되니건 차르지 영랑보티서 되니 럽다 만접 되니 대양 할레바가 되니 대 제마시와 되니 제지 대 머탁바임 비김슨지레.
Even though we do make a lot of plans, whether or not we will actually be able to go about executing them in the long term is, in light of the fact of impermanence, very uncertain.
Then this corate ngato te nima takbar then sarshokta nyamchda the so nala yupitin zambolong ngerwa mambo ndoyo patela tana then chesa then shir zambolong ngerwa then ngato then saro then hako tapkare.
By looking at the news or the TV every day or reading the newspaper, we can see for ourselves large-scale changes that take place in the world. And it's the same too if we read past history.
Then I was getting a marathon, the so sama tolan Gera Tatamato, the Ningera Masonitini, Tamun in Dunkins, they are married.
Whether it's politics or economy or military affairs, all of these things are constantly in a state of change. There is no situation where any of these realms stops and remains stable and unchanging for any period of time.
Then it chonchung tola and got meet seto that on Dabore and got so on soa, got so seto, the soyant in Gera Mambo, and Royores.
And then on a much more micro level, our own lives are exactly the same. Our own lifespans, our lives are constantly undergoing many changes.
Then inside the Martak Bazit, the inside the Tela, then is Samlo, then is Tango, and Dumato, but Samlo Matana. Don't tola tinti yinda teni te saro ti chorwanda o te yung thapko yo marezi.
And so that's why it's necessary to give a lot of thought to impermanence, because without doing so, then even though this is in reality how things are, we won't be able to give rise to a strong feeling or recognition of this.
Teni maung ba zia te ngatso partana pe jana teni ngatso gongmo teni shiro la lo me teni nyimata dawa me tso me pines teni ngatso di kapta karkhong sirchini shilo la tawa tan tawore chichi hako yo mari chinti tongo yo mari.
Because the future we can liken to looking out a window late at night when there's no electric lights and there's no sun, there's no moon. We look out the window and we can't see anything at all. And the reason that we can't see anything is because there are too many changes. In fact, that which we refer to as a individual lifespan is extremely short.
Tini titsutya tini pe tini garwarezi kemsarezi karizena tangaso titsok tini chorwate yin rambos yonana yogonana ta dumur mala yorgori dumur yona tini chesos chil tini titsutya rambo raw tini nangarezi chorwa.
So time is in fact a really strange thing. If we are in a state of suffering, then a period of time as short as an hour seems to extend for a very long time. However, when we feel happy and joyful, then time contracts and passes quickly. And a period of 2 or 3 days appears to be a very short time indeed. In actual fact, time is not contracting or expanding, it's simply our perception thereof. So when we feel happy or joyful, then time passes very quickly, it contracts. So it's for this reason that when we feel happy and joyful, it doesn't last for a very long time. After a small moment, it passes. So in relation to propositions like these, Buddhism has many different ways of contemplating or thinking. And if we were going to combine them into one point, we could say that there are three primary ways of thinking. So I should say that there are, in terms of the way that we can think about this, there are three parts to this process of contemplation. The first part is to think or realize that we will all one day die. If, for example, we were to take a photo of everyone in this room today and to put it on the wall, then say in 100 years, or not even 100 years, just 70 or 80 years, if people were to look at the photo of the wall, not a single one of us would still be alive. So in 70 or 80 years' time, people would look at the photo on the wall and say, all of these people existed 70 or 80 years ago, and they've all passed. And in fact, that's how it would be. When we go to museums, for example, we see a lot of photos of people from 50 years ago, 80 years ago, 70, 90 years ago. And when we look at these photos of people from the past, we see only people pursuing their various interests, whether it be waging war or struggling over something, working very hard in respect of something. We don't find photos of anything else in a museum. And one day we will become like this ourselves. And this is the same for every person in the world. It is a natural law or pattern.
Nyama chikti nam rezina te nga su chiga hakong marezi namin.
So even though that we may know or think that one day this will happen to us, as to when exactly that day will come, none of us can say for sure.
Tsarik bayi nang hakong yo marezi korang nam chijin.
Scientists can't say, they don't know.
Tani nga su suwarik baga tini mambam khe bayi nang kong marezi.
Neither do doctors and other experts of this kind.
Tani zambolang la wang jirshi ke yong ken katini chapchit katini ngosot ina hakong marezi.
And neither do political leaders in the world.
Tani nyamling yakbo shenken kataga ma nyongshi nyongshi ko yorese korang nam roji.
Of course, there is a small element of very good practitioners who know when they will die.
Tani te ma tong pa tani nga tsu tsama ga tani ta nga tsu nima chiglan rogo gore ziki ma tong nima chigpo ti namin hako mara chigchi na dawa jima nga la yin kores.
So with the exception of this small group of practitioners, everyone else only knows that one day they necessarily will die, but as to when that day will be, they've got no idea. It could be that it's next month.
Chigchi na lo jima nga la yin kores.
It's possible next year.
Tani chigchi na lo kashi ga jila yin kores.
It's also possible it might be in a couple of years' time.
Gantar tani hale pa yin rangbo su yin sig mares.
In any case, it won't be that our death is a long way off. So on this point, we really need to do a lot of thinking. So that is the second part of our contemplation on this.
Shimalandro, Tsin, the Sakolaga Toni, Mundugni, Teni, Jandandrovi Kapsu, Teni, Natsula, Pambayo Yagatini, Mubo de Gangre, Samni, Teni, Tesam Lotangondux.
And then the third part of this contemplation entails us recognizing that one day we will die, we will no longer reside on this earth, we will be somewhere else. And we then need to turn our mind to what will be of benefit to us at this point. So there are many people buy insurance, life insurance and other kinds.
Gargiri pick up Khenchen Dawota, Matso Nat Navi Cap Khenchen Dawota, the Nialangatsu Tenicho, Lord Tonkin Tenji, Cap Khenchen Dawota, Tinjin Tadaris.
And all of these various insurances that we buy are for things like when we become old, or when we become sick, or if we should encounter a sudden accident. In any case, these insurance packages that we buy are for events that might take place prior to us leaving this life. So, but when we do actually have to depart this life, what do we need at this point? What kind of insurance do we require? So by contemplating these three aspects over and over again, the strong resolution to properly practice the true Dharma will arise in our minds. And the reason for this is the insurance that we require at the time of our death is none other than the Dharma. This is the only thing that can serve as true insurance for us. So it's really important that we meditate again and again on death and impermanence.
Tani kapkapsang ngaso tani gumjamni tani pena nyimachila tani chiso chingrao chiso shekandao tani shini lopo shini tani chipo gumjamni titona samlo tangores.
So So from time to time, we should sit down in meditation for a period of 1 hour or half an hour with a relaxed mind and contemplate this over and over.
Tani samsa tani ngaso tani ta shirola ta zambalonga tola tani ngerwa tani jamambo tani ndrowate tani ngaso long de nyamchini na sarsho na tani tone hakwi kapsa tani titola te samlo tangore.
And so too, when we learn about changes in the world, whether via television or newspapers, we should also think about these changes, give them thought.
Tani kapsa tani ngaso nyinkhorla yung mo ya koranso tani charge rambo ja ta yin rambo la tani dergosam tani pamjor mambo sang tani shini tani da charge yin rang jaka yung mocho lower to tani ta shinroa o ngaso tani soso nyinkhorla tani mo mambo yung yore tesola tani samlo tangore.
And then should there be people in our very midst who make long-term plans based on living for a long time, and they accumulate a lot of wealth to affect these plans, but then die suddenly. In actual fact, this happens quite a lot. There are many people like this. When or should this happen, we should also turn our thought to this, give it a lot of thought. In times gone by, there was a person in Tibet. And he was a person who developed the ability to communicate with his Dharma protector. And he said to the Dharma protector, when I am about to die, would you please tell me a little time in advance, because I have some preparations that I need to make. And the Dharma protector said, yes, okay, I'll do that, and promised to do so.
Terang ngarang so tini chongban dinane tini ta yuni chongba tot tini gabu shisong tini lamdex.
Then one day the Dharma protector came and said that at the top of the valley there is an old man who died.
Tini mati oya zinzi mati samlo chichi tamada o ta yinjiri tazendex mati.
But the person said, oh, is that the case? Oh, yes, it must be. Didn't give it much more thought.
Tani yang ni machila yoni songma de yoni ta terang aran so tini chongban dinala yang tini ta gamu tini song de zeni tini kola lamdus.
Then a few days
gamu
later,
tini shigre zeni kola lamdus.
Shigire. And then a few days later, the Dharma protector came back and said, oh, at another part of the village, there is an old lady who is about to die. And the person responded, oya, and didn't give it much attention. Then one day, the Dharma protector came and said, okay, it's time now for you to go.
Tani mati tani soma tela tani tani chora ngamani tani labio ngandro tets mandro ngona tani chora ngash tani lapshok tani zeyo tani che terang ngandro randi tani matok malapi jimsen chin ze tani par labares.
And the person said to the Dharma protector, I told you to inform me sometime before I die that it's my time to go. So why have you just come to me today to tell me that now is my time?
Then 그런 거 소마디 내절라 라비오지 내절라 나만이 라비오지 된디 람도지.
And the Dharma protector said to him, I told you some time ago.
Then mati 그 쳇자와 내가 라마송에 싸와니 마고지니 된디 파르더니 라바레스.
But the person said, you didn't say anything to me. I didn't hear anything about this.
Then 소마디지니 된 내절라 라비오 되니 디캅스 내절라 디 가보즈 되니 시제레 라비오라 가모즈 시제레 라비오 또 상마 결혼 다 잡지 지지야 다인 되니 된디 파르더니 때 마텔라 되니 샤파레스.
But the Dharma protector said, I did tell you. I told you about the old man dying, the old lady dying. These were all signs for you to start preparing for your own death.
어다 든지 인디 되는 가서 닝코라 되니 다 여러 망보 용 돼야지 되니 나랑서 랑거 토라 양 여러 때 욕보 용야가 되니 딱 잡고레스.
So all of the various changes that are taking place in our own surrounds are in fact warnings for the changes that will take place in our own lives. But we're exactly the same as the person in this story. We don't give these signs or warning signs any thought.
산에 드리삼 되지 마도 받으니 소소랑 드니 남드린 처연데 삼로 땅거 말해서
We just note, someone died or many people died here. We don't give any thought to the question of when we ourselves will die.
드니 끼가 나 치즈야 돼서 상망아 좀 멋지가 나라베 돈다 침보래.
Within our human lives, birth, aging, sickness, death are extremely important events.
드니 돈다 침보인디 돈다 침보돼서 가서 인담만다 뒤돌아 삼로때서 땅공도.
And major events such as these are ones that deserve our thought.
드니 돈다 침보가 좀 멋지가 돈다 침보 출라드니 삼로 마땅히데 이거잖아. 드니 지마 드니 교파 침보께 그래서.
If we fail to pay proper attention to major events such as these in our lives, then in the future we'll give rise to great regret.
Tani samlo tana tani ta nga so ta zo nga so sem gna la ota ngone tani nga nga tani chu ya bo ju go ndo ta ta ri nga rang chu she ya ko ke tani shong ate tani le la po sa wa ne mare tani indi ta nga rang tani ko ke ya bo shong kap sa tani ngone chu yang ta ba chu ngoma tani so so rang la pan to yo ya tani zi she go ndo sam ba te so so rang ge sem ka tang ne tani kiem gres.
So by contemplating on these thoughts, we will be able to give rise from the depths of our own heart a mindset to properly practice the Dharma, a realization that the opportunity to hear and practice the teachings is extremely rare, and therefore a resolution to practice them in a proper and beneficial way.
Teni zong teni nga so chu jin de she pa de teni ta ya bo z teni tang le nyam le she tab gores.
And from this point onwards, we will be able to practice in accordance with the true Dharma.
Teni chu jin de she pa mayin ba nga so ta na nga to she de wa teni chu jin de ma shi pi teni sha wa te so tam je po nga so rang shi ke teni par tor tab gores.
And we will also, at this point, naturally be able to abandon those actions, as we talked about this morning, that are not in accordance with the practice of the true Dharma. So within the ways for us to train our mind, or ways of contemplating, that is one of them.
Teni le jimri ga thola teni samlo tang go re ta nga so tari nga so ta di zambolong ga thola ina teni pena makhashi la kepo makhashi la dupo teni makhashi ga lipo teni dethang makhashi ga teni dethang mayimba teni mambo 용거요레.
We also need to give some thought to the issue of karmic cause and effect. In the world, there are some people who are happy, some who are sad, some who are healthy, some who are not.
In
Buddhism, we speak of the 6 realms of cyclic existence. The beings of the 6 realms of existence do exist, but just looking in this very world around us, it is possible to see beings who are very similar to those that occupy the 6 realms. After we die, we will necessarily take a new rebirth. This is something that those who have been practicing Buddhism for some time probably have a good understanding of or a good conviction in. But it's likely that people who have not been involved in Buddhism for a terribly long period of time, or those who might have been involved in Buddhism for a long time but haven't been able to study well, will have doubts about what happens after we do die. In actuality, however, that after we die we will take a new rebirth is not something that we need to have doubt about. This absolutely will take place in fact. And there are a lot of reasons or explanations or evidence to support this. However, due to the fact that we don't have so much time today, we won't go into them. So everyone should consult other sources and study from other sources what the reasons are that support reincarnation and rebirth. Just simply believing without knowing any of the corroborating reasons is a kind of faith that we refer to as blind faith. And having blind faith without understanding any reasons is mistaken. However, to say that all faith is blind faith, this is also a mistaken view. So when we clearly understand the reasons or explanation, and on this basis give rise to faith, then this is what we describe as faith underpinned by wisdom or wise faith. And this is not blind faith. Faith in Buddhism really means belief. And this belief or trust requires a clear understanding of reasons.
Teni Gimson maybe gone teni ta mujamba so teni rezina oda ngarang yensare samne yichi jaba teni yichi chiore teni yichi nidos.
So there is one kind of belief or that is based on a clear understanding of reason. There is another kind of belief which is just the kind where other people say something and we accept it to be true. This is a different kind of faith. We can say that there are two kinds.
Teni Gimson machine teni tapashi deati yabu maresoni tela nanchu nala kyun mambo jokore.
The kind of faith that is not underpinned by reason is not good. In fact, it's criticized a great deal in the Buddhist tradition.
Teni Gimson mambo yona yang teni tarung yang Gimson teni mambo yopa hakona yang tarung acho kelen machina teni tela utsuk zeore. Utsuk zena ako.
Go. Die myten de Josona jigraba. Che dale darong jons myten de.
Tela mantakyo mar takoro jigsokwa gar Gimson jiang teni machine teni ta kadimari Gimson yopa te shina yang tarung yang teni kelen machina teni tela utsuk zegres teni ten jigsokso.
However, understanding, notwithstanding having an understanding, hang on, how should I put this? However, even if we understand the reasons for things but still do not accept them, then this is just stubbornness.
Teni utsuk jamni teni shide na teni yaboyo marese. Ngaso sama Gimson kalayo nilug kalayo te tani teni tanti nilug ndu te Gimson ndu teni samna teni ngaso te tanglin chego re teni shina yabores.
But just remaining in this state of stubbornness is not good. If we know the reasons for something, if we understand the logic, then we should accept it.
Teni indi teni tangaso de Mushui Gini, Yanker Natsu teni tarong kia leya tela, teni Gimson teni mambo yores.
So that after we die, we take rebirth is something for which there are many explanations and reasons.
Teni Gimson te so tamche so rang teni shapa jav teni lojong chi shapa jav rang samlo tana teni yapo teni ha koyong gres.
And if you for yourselves study, learn, analytically examine what you learn, then you will arrive at an understanding of this too.
Teni tindi indi pena ngaso mutang teni chokchak pena tendrung rawo o teni ki park teni mjerwa te kandis yen teni ngaso shertang mi shige o mares.
The connection between humans and animals is something that ordinary people don't understand.
Teni ngaso namjini namjerwa che me panrawo teni tonggo yorese ta ngaso muin na merje teni tendro na tendro teni mjerwa me rawo samne teni samgo yorese.
And many people think that there is no connection. They think that humans are humans and animals are animals, and there is no real connection between them.
Yena teni ki nalam jerwa kanti yozena teni ngaso ta sani teni jini shini yang teni kewa shilimbi kapsa yang ngaso mu kewa lengre yang na teni tendro kewa lengre teni te o ta thak ganga chogo rezena teni tata ngaso shawa yakpo le male dungpo le male ti thak chogo rez.
However, as to or what decides whether we, if we die tomorrow, take rebirth in human or animal form, this hinges on the actions that we commit now, whether they are positive or negative. So things like this, we should, from time to time, also think about.
Teni ngaso musik teni shini tendro rendoya tang teni tendro chik shini teni mu teni rendoya te teni tsawani musipa teni maris.
It's not impossible that a human may die and be reborn as an animal, or that an animal may die and be reborn as a human. It's far from impossible.
Teni tsechok sangwa ze nga tso teni tsechok de la sangwa nga tso hama ko I teni sangwa teni mambo yore.
The secret of life. The secret of life. There are many secrets that we have no understanding of.
Teni tendi yendi te sola yang samlo tane karte tangone tane nga shini tendong dawo tendi zire song chena kandi yin sari samle te nga tso samlo tang gondos.
So because of this, we really should think about what would happen if I really were to die and be reborn as an animal. This is something that we should think about.
Teni nga tso 사고라 니토라 요피 값스 티는 아주 사고라 티 간디즈인 하고요 말해 사고라 티 시촌니 간디즈인 아주 싱거 말해
시촌이 시겹스라고
시겹 사고라 시드 간디즈 시립 진짜진 하고 말해 그런 거整体的진짜진 하고 말해.
So right now, as we exist on earth, we don't have a comprehensive knowledge of the earth. Or rather, when we are standing on the earth, we can't perceive or see the earth in its entirety. However, if we were to stand on the moon and look back on the earth, then we would be able to see it as a whole. In just the same way, we are all presently in this cyclic existence. And because we are currently where we are, we don't have an overall or comprehensive understanding of what the entirety of cyclic existence is like. But by giving it some thought, we will be able to generate belief in the fact that even though this particular human life of ours may be very short, our greater, or this lifespan may be very short, our underlying life or life force is endures for a very long time. And so we should think about this. We should also think in the context of our own lives and the people in our own lives about the suffering they experience. When we exist as we currently do in a place where there is no earthquakes or floods or wars or epidemics, we tend to think that this opportunity we have to exist happily as we do is something that will continue to be there tomorrow and the day after. We think that tomorrow will be similar to today. And we think that next year will be similar to this year.
직시나 되니 다 다와 지마당 다와 드니가 나라 되니 남당 산다고 되니 여와 로요나 로나 하고 말이죠.
However, we can't say for sure whether or not this month or next month some changes will take place.
Tadi ini pernah dah ngaso tadi zambalang ke pernah mak jam ni tercin tadi terba mampu jam kebikam jauh yang na naim yo pa yang na meki yo ah oh tadi kawla pernah tadi ta ngak kati tikap tela yo na tadi kang di sare samne tela samlo tangko res.
So we really should think about what would it be if war were to erupt, or conflict were to happen, or an epidemic were to break out. What would that be like?
Tadi ngaso mucho namjin ke tini samlo tang sarte pe le labo shini samlo tang ni tang ngaso muk ngolam thoya chipo ndabo ma to ba jin rang boda tini tang za boda sola samlo tang mari.
The usual or habitual way that we go about looking at things is extremely simplistic. We tend to only really take into account that which we can immediately see in front of us. Our way of thinking is far from long-term or deep in scope.
Tani tinji samlo tang la tela tani mombo tani gabu shek yo maris.
Gabu shek maris?
Gabu shek maris tani samlo tang jitela.
Oh, kiek deni samsudela.
Nge samsar shaz tari tani samlo tang jitela gag maris macho.
Nang kiek deni samlo tang.
Nang chuzi ma tari nge kongla tani samlo tani tang gondi jeswa martak bata tso tani samlo tang sarte mombo gag maris tani samlo tang sarte la samlo tang zene mati samlo tela gag maris maro.
But many people don't like at all this way of thinking, which focuses on negative things or suffering.
ngacho dini pen tongqin xie de gang tongqin xie ge yorezna tati chorwa de lan tongqin xie ge yorez.
That which we do regard as extremely important and pay a lot of attention to is our current lives.
Dini tarta lamsang ngacho la ti chorwa yak bon rawo yongya dini zina dini te yak bo re sa ne ngacho te sam ge yorez.
And if immediately something takes place and makes our life, in our life that makes it good, then we identify that as good.
Teni indi teni ngasola teni lamsang teni ngasola chorwa yakpo yongyan rata ta teni ge perna teni tamu taya ta teni na teni janya ya teni ge leka mambo yo chi tsola ta na ngaso tela gaw yore te pe yakpo re samne chama tinala teni yang ni teni yore.
So those experiences that give us immediate feelings of gratification, whether it be through watching particular displays or listening to particular sounds, these are the things that everyone likes and concentrates on.
Yena jangrangbola teni samlo tana ngasola ngoni tane ge metse ge la phan thoya ti teni teni ge samlo te tang zapon raw tang ya teri.
However, insofar as what will be of long-term benefit in our lives, it is the more deep and profound way of thinking.
The tindi indi ngachola teni ti ngachun chowa nangla teni kap sa tindi perna tata sosorang la chola ayak buyong ya perna chemo ya ina romonya na tindi yang te men yona chokore shetam chowa nangla tindi yona te mechok mendugse.
Of course, there's nothing wrong with having a bit of leisure in our lives or listening to a little bit of music to make things pleasant.
Yena kap sa ngacho teni ta yang metse ge tongdak chimbo dari ngacho kongla shapa tsola yang sablong tanggong de kap sa.
However, from time to time, we should give some thought to these major events in our life that we talked about before.
Teni teni ka te yo gongdus.
So, in fact, we need both things. We need both aspects.
Ta teni shine ngacho teni ngacho chowa na la yo pi teni dungmar tang teni martak ba yem ba tang tso tholan dang jap teni she yongdi teni ngacho sem ga tang la o ta ngacho chi shawa ngacho tin ba pa shi gong de ma to ta ngan teni du na recommend Sambanda, then some location.
By thinking about issues such as suffering and impermanence, then we will give rise to a thought in our mind that it is necessary for us to be diligent, for us to work hard, that it's not okay just to exist as we currently do.
다 머딱바 용거 말에 되는 나랑 인랑보 되니 대그래 되는 가 로자데 그래 로자다 납진데 그래 되니 로자다 납지 티나라 나랑 깨보 용거래 리보 깨보 용거래 셈 깨보 용거래 되니 삼네 머딱바 말에 인랑보래 삼데나 소소 소라 깨보 용기래.
Of course, if we don't think about impermanence, if we think that we will live for 100 years or maybe 150 years and that we will be happy throughout this time in both our bodies and our minds, that there is no impermanence and so forth, yes, this does produce a good feeling, a happy feeling. However, this way of thinking is self-deception.
드니 영아서 당아서 소화돼 되니다 개보인 거래 마음바나 텔리장 되니 개보인 거래 다 개보당 데모당 된디 마토 요 말에 된디 삼니 디쇼라 되니 삼로당 되나 대양아랑 수수 셈구나라데 소라 개본다고 용야라 판통 요리스
Pento yoris. Of course, thinking that life is happy, that in the future it will be even more happy, that in fact there is nothing but happiness, is of some benefit.
얘나 소라기뿌요나 야 수소랑 거랑라 동거토라랑 거랑랑 걸거 땅거요.
Even though the benefit might be that of producing a good or happy feeling, in actual fact one is tricking or deceiving oneself.
드니 든지 인딩 아서 또 무보고 돌아간지 옛나 든지 따고운도세 면对现实.
So what we really need to do is confront reality as it is.
땡아서 동거 돌아간지 옛나 든지 따고래 마토 봤더니 동거 돌아 약보래 개보래 든지 등등다 초라기 보인지를 있다. 얘는 판토요 말해.
If we don't accept reality as it is, but rather think that everything is good and happy, it might produce a positive feeling, but in actual fact it's of no benefit.
드니 초라기 보티 소소소랑랑 걸거 땅니 드니 초라기 보 직보라 드니 삼로 땅니 드리시 되나 드니 배낭아서 드니 득 잠만 통하다 식바르지 시도.
Just simply thinking that everything is good and happy and dwelling in this positive feeling is just the same as taking drugs.
When
one takes certain kinds of drugs, a happy feeling is produced, various kinds of hallucinations take place. But to live in the midst of such illusions really has no meaning whatsoever. So it's necessary for us to contemplate in very deep terms what the nature of cyclic existence is, what the nature of our very lives is. So many people, without giving thought to any of these things, just existing in their current lives in a very simple or